and gentlemen, an unprecedented judicial flashpoint is brewing as the centre has held the elevation of Uttarakhand High Court Chief Justice K.M. Joseph to the Supreme Court, his appointment as a judge. Opposition has attacked the centre by levelling vendetta charges. But the politics aside, there's a standoff that no one is talking about. That's the big breaking news lined up this Thursday evening on the Newshour at 9 with me, Navika Kumar.
You're watching the Newshour at 9.
It's a proud day for the Indian judiciary today as it got its first woman lawyer to be directly appointed from the bar to a Supreme Court judge. But the government's move to bar Justice K.M. Joseph from a slot in the Supreme Court has triggered off an angry protest from the opposition and set abuzz the legal circles. It also ended in one of the bitterest run-ins between the Congress party and the BJP, which had been sparring for the last several weeks over the crisis in the judiciary. To the Congress claim of the judiciary being in danger, the BJP retorted that the Congress has no moral grounds to talk about the matter. Take a look at this report.
An unprecedented standoff as the centre clears the appointment of senior advocate Indu Malhotra as a Supreme Court judge, but holds elevation of Uttarakhand High Court Chief Justice K.M. Joseph. The Congress accusing revenge politics, charging centre of punishing Justice Joseph for his anti-BJP verdict in 2016. The BJP retorted, saying that the Congress has no moral authority to raise such issues, as it too has superseded judges when in power.
वो केवल वही जजेस चाहती हैं, हमारी केंद्र सरकार, जिन पे उनकी सहमति हो। हिंदुस्तान की जुडिशरी खतरे में है। हमारी जुडिशरी एक आवाज में इकट्ठा खड़े होकर अपनी स्वायत्तता की सुरक्षा नहीं करती, तो फिर लोकतंत्र खतरे में होगा।
Senior Supreme Court judges Justice Grover, Justice Shellett, and Justice Hegde, and Ain Ray was made the Chief Justice. Thereafter, during emergency, a legendary courageous Judge S.R. Khanna was superseded and denied to be made Chief Justice even for 2 months because he had the courage to decide in the ADM Jabalpur during the emergency that individual freedom cannot be curbed when emergency is there, the fundamental rights.
CJI Deepak Mishra, while rejecting a plea against the centre's move, said there's nothing wrong in centre asking the collegium to reconsider a name. But the big question remains, isn't Congress wrong in politicizing appointment of judges to country's top court when, as per the law, the centre is well within its rights to approve or reject the collegium's recommendation? And can the Congress take moral high ground when its governments in the past have tried to destroy the independence of judiciary? Bureau Report, Times Now.
Big breaking news right here on Times Now on the Newshour. The inside story of the judicial flashpoint, the face-off no one's talking about. It was 100 lawyers versus the Chief Justice of India in the Supreme Court today. Joining me this evening, Anand Narasimhan, senior editor. Also joining me, our legal correspondent Anisha Mathur. Unthinkable, unimaginable and inconceivable and never before heard. These were the words of the Chief Justice of India. But at the same time, the challenge that came from the lawyers, 100 of them, who signed on a petition opposing the appointment of Indu Malhotra, the second woman going directly from the bar of lawyers to be appointed as a Supreme Court judge. Let me go across to Anand Narasimhan first. Anand Narasimhan, the question is, it wasn't celebration of Indu Malhotra, but it was just to take on a beleaguered Chief Justice of India because they've targeted him in the past. to mount the pressure on him. It was 100 lawyers versus the Chief Justice of India in the Supreme Court once again.
Yes, and a lot of these lawyers, and we can say that safely based on the person who was representing, have been influenced by the lobby, and they just said that if you have sent across 2 names in your list to the government for elevation, you can't elevate just one person. You have to wait for both the names, because it is never, that was their contention, saying that hold on to Indu Malhotra's elevation till the time that there is some clarity on Justice Joseph. Now this is absolutely unprecedented. You can't try and intimidate and bulldoze, and that's why the Chief Justice standing his ground, and they wanted an urgent hearing, and the Chief Justice turning around and saying nothing doing. You got to follow procedure, and if you want this to be heard, it will be heard in due course of time. You cannot barge in and try and bulldoze. And then they were trying to tell the Chief Justice, you have to stop the elevation of Indu Malhotra. It cannot happen immediately, because both names, it is unprecedented and it can never happen. They were trying to give all these kind of excuses, logic, etc., etc. And the person who was trying to lead this charge was Indira Jaising. And Anisha can tell us more about that, Navika.
That's right, Anisha. The question that was raised, they called it unimaginable, unconscionable and never heard of. And Indira Jaising was leading the charge, questioning this raising of Indu Malhotra to the Supreme Court on these grounds. The question is, the same Indira Jaising who was leading the lobby in the Justice Lawyer case, now trying to target the Chief Justice of India in this case as well.
Well, it was a very, very charged hearing today at 2 p.m. when this matter was mentioned before the bench of the Chief Justice of India. Senior advocate Indira Jaising, as well as a bunch of other lawyers, appeared before the Chief Justice of India, saying that because the centre has chosen to send back the collegium's recommendation, the collegium should, the Supreme Court should hold off on the oath-taking ceremony and stay the warrants of elevation for Indu Malhotra, who is scheduled to now take oath as a judge of the Supreme Court tomorrow morning. Now, of course, as my colleague Anand was also saying, the Chief Justice said that this is inconceivable that the warrants of elevation of a constitutional functionary should be stayed, that the Supreme Court cannot and will not pass any such orders. The court, the lawyers then clarified that they are not against the elevation of Indu Malhotra as such. What they want is that this issue of Justice K.M. Joseph's elevation should also be looked into before this matter is put to rest. Now, the court has made it very, very clear. In fact, observation came from Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, who's sitting on the bench with the Chief Justice, saying that if there is allegation of cherry picking, if there is any allegation that the government is not listening to the collegium, they can look into it later. But there is no urgency. A very interesting observation came from the Chief Justice, who said this is not a matter of some sort of a demolition or an eviction, that it needs to be heard immediately. There is no urgency in this matter.
That's why the hearing was put off for a later date. The Chief Justice of India not coming under any pressure, and that leads me to my case tonight. Three-front attack on the Chief Justice of India. 4 collegium justices in building the pressure on the Chief Justice of India over the delay in the elevation, even calling for a full court meeting, seeking discussion on the future of the top court of India. And these 4 judges include Justice Chalameshwar, Justice Ranjan Gogoi, Justice Madan Lokur, all of them demanding just one thing: pressure on the Chief Justice of India. Second, the attack on the Chief Justice came from the opposition, which was armed with the privilege to move a motion of impeachment against the man in the highest office of the judiciary. And the third and the final attack today came from within, when a group of 100 lawyers get out a lone CJI in the court, pressurizing him to hold to the appointment of Indu Malhotra as a judge in the Supreme Court, just because the central government had not cleared the name of Justice K.M. Joseph. That brings me to the legitimate question tonight. Is there an all-round attack to script a coup against the Chief Justice of India? And just who is actually pressurizing the judiciary in India? Is it the government or the opposition? That's the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. And that brings me to the big debate, Judiciary Flashpoint.
You're watching the Newshour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining me me this evening, Justice K.T. Thomas, former Supreme Court Judge, Dr. Sambit Patra, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Arya Masundaram, Senior Lawyer, K.T.S. Tulsi, Senior Lawyer and Member of Parliament of the Rajya Sabha, Ghanshyam Tiwari, National Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Tehseen Poonawala, Political Analyst and Rajiv Desai, Public Affairs Analyst. And my first segment, the standpoint, I'm taking on the standpoint Justice K.T. Thomas, former Supreme Court Judge, to take on K.T.S. Tulsi. But Mr. K.T.S. Tulsi, my first question goes across to you. Mr. K.T.S. Tulsi, has the Congress never questioned a collegium recommendation in the past? May I remind you several instances in the past when these recommendations have been questioned, in the case of Supreme Court, in the case of High Court? Do you not remember any of these cases, Mr. K.T.S. Tulsi, that today the opposition actually targeted the government on the question of Justice K.M. Joseph?
See, in fact, I agree with the Chief Justice that there is nothing new about a recommendation being sent back for reconsideration. The convention is that the government can send it back once, but once the collegium reiterates, then the government will implement that. And I hope that that convention is maintained. If it's not maintained, it will tantamount to an attack on the independence of judiciary. Because in this case, the judge concerned happened to have delivered a judgment in a very important case against the central government. And somehow or the other, the impression will go that it's because of this that the central government is wanting to punish him. And that will affect the independence of judiciary. That if you don't deliver judgments in favor of the government, then you cannot hope any further progression in your career. That's not a good thing. I'm sure the collegium will meet and will discuss, and normally in most of the cases, the collegium has reiterated, and if they do reiterate, I am sure that the government will also go ahead with the convention which has been followed for more than a quarter of a century. After all, collegium system came into existence not yesterday. And it's the same memorandum of procedure, because the new one hasn't evolved. It's the same old memorandum of procedure which is being operationalized for the purpose of appointments. But today, I welcome the appointment of Justice of Indu Malhotra. I wholeheartedly welcome. She richly deserves it, and I'm not at all critical of this. Just the sending back of the recommendation of the other judge, it has been done many a times. It can even be done now, and the collegium will take care of it.
All right.
I have no doubt about that.
All right. So you don't think this was part of an attack on the Chief Justice of India, just like the impeachment was? But let me go across to Mr. K.T. Thomas. Justice K.T. Thomas, I ask you a simple question. Today, the common man who's looking at the judiciary and the face-off is asking one question. Who's attacking the judiciary more? Is the government, who's not actually putting a suggestion of the collegium to promote and elevate Justice K.M. Joseph as a Supreme Court judge? Or is it the opposition which is bringing in an impeachment motion against the Chief Justice of India on what is being called maybe grounds, suspicious grounds? Justice K.T. Thomas.
Yes. See, Naviga, when I learned first that both Indu Malhotra and Justice K.M. Joseph have been recommended as judges of the Supreme Court of India, I was very, very happy for two reasons. Both of them, as advocates, have appeared before me. Sri K.M. Joseph, as advocate in the Kerala High Court, for long appeared before me and argued many cases. Similarly, Indu Malhotra has appeared before me in Supreme Court in many cases. I had very high opinion about both of them, their capacity. About K.M. Joseph as a judge, I can say his integrity is impeccable. he is a fearless judge. It would have been a great thing if both of them had been appointed as judges of the Supreme Court. In the case of Indu Malhotra, I remember during 2000 year, I was in the collegium then, but we expressed a desire that she may be appointed as a judge of the Delhi High Court at that time, almost 18 years ago, but due to some reason it did not happen. I am happy that at least now her name has been cleared as a judge of the Supreme Court of India. But I don't know why the appointment of Justice K.M. Joseph is not cleared. The reasons stated by the government are to be considered by the collegium.
But
Mr.
you think
K.T.S. Tulsi has correctly said that if the collegium will consider these reasons advanced by the government and then reiterate, the government is bound for appointing him. I am not at this stage to express any opinion on the reasons given by the government, right or wrong.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely, Justice K.T. Thomas. Before I move ahead on the debate, my team, my research team has dug out some more details of the Congress, which had halted elevation of 2 judges who were recommended by the collegium. The procedure was cited then, and vendetta is being cited now. Let's look at these 2 precedents. That's on air. First time in 2009 when Justice Dinakaran's case came up. That was on the grounds of probity, that was questioned, and rightly so. But that was definitely a collegium recommendation that was questioned by the then government. Also a second case of Justice C.K. Prasad, who was then the High Court of Allahabad's Chief Justice, whose recommendation came from the collegium. It was okayed by the government. It went to the President, Pratibha Devi Patil, and it was there that it was stopped by a letter written by the then Law Minister Veerappa Moily, who stopped it at that stage. C.K. Prasad. 2 precedents in the UPA regime that exist. As I open up this debate, I asked Tehseen Poonawala the question. Tehseen Poonawala, so is the opposition of the Congress party today completely motivated when you say that the government is questioning the collegium, when the Congress itself had questioned the collegium in their own time?
I don't think yesterday I was able to make my point, which I was trying to make yesterday, and I will continue from yesterday today, and that's come true. In the case of Justice Joseph, there exists no reason why he should not be elevated. Is it for you to decide? Because he's a man of impeccable.
Were there reasons in the case of Justice C.K. Prasad?
Impeccable character.
Were there reasons in the case of Justice C.K. Prasad?
I'm coming to that. As the process is, as rightly said by the Honorable Retired Justice and K.T.S. Tulsi, sir, if the government of the day rejects the collegium, the recommendations of the collegium, but it is resent by the collegium, as I was saying yesterday, the government has no choice but to accept it. What we are seeing is a pattern happening by this government with regards to the Supreme Court. We know with Gopal Subramaniam, his recommendation was just sat on. It wasn't being rejected by the government of the day, and the IB unofficial report is for his sexual orientation. We know what is happening with regards to Justice Joseph. It is regards to the Uttarakhand High Court judgment, which threw out a precedent's rule that was imposed.
Aren't you politicizing it? No. The government has said seniority.
How are we politicizing it?
He is number 42 on the All India list. There are 11 Chief Justices of various High Courts who are senior to him. Isn't that something that you would take at face value?
I'll answer that. It is not for the government to decide that. It is for the government to decide, is his character impeccable?
Sambit Patra, respond to that before I go across to Mr. Arima Sundram.
If he's of impeccable reputation, just one second. If he's of impeccable, Doctor, 1 minute. If he's of impeccable reputation because he's given an order, Doctor, just 1 second. The government cannot reject his recommendation.
But they haven't rejected. They've only said it for reconsideration. They haven't rejected it.
And once the collegium sends it back, the government will have no choice
but to
accept it.
Wait for that before calling it vendetta.
Sat on it.
Wait for that before calling it vendetta at point 1, Dr. Sambit Patra. Isn't the Congress in a hurry to politicize this?
See, Navika, first and foremost, I'm thankful to you and your channel Times Now for having granted me the fortune, I would say a fortune, and great fortune rather, to having seated with me in the same debate as great Justice K.T. Thomas over here. I mean, what are we doing? What have we reduced ourselves to? Today, me, Tehseen Poonawala and Ghanshyam Tiwari will decide as to how judges would be promoted to Supreme Court. Is this what Indian polity has been reduced itself to? Just because we will wear, a black coat and a white shirt, thinking that, well, yes, we are propounding ourselves as judges and lawyers. This is a black day, I would say, in history. We are debating appointment of judges on television channel. Secondly, as far as the Congress party is concerned, they have politicized every institution of this country, the Election Commission, the Army, the Supreme Court, because of their petty political reasons. Thirdly, let me just revisit 2016, January, Navika, 10 seconds. January 2016, remember, not a Bharatiya Janata Party leader, but a tall leader and a former law minister of the Congress party, the Congress government. In fact, Mr. Hansraj Bharadwaj had come out and expressed that he was approached by tallest leader of the Congress party to influence the Supreme Court's verdict in 2005, President's rule in Bihar. It is there everywhere in the newspaper. It's in the Google. You can go out and take out the news report of Mr. Hansraj Bharadwaj. That is the amount of committed judiciary that the Congress party has always wanted for itself. Should we forget as to how Justice A.N. Ray had been superseded? 3 judges had been superseded to make A.N. Ray the Chief Justice of India. Should we forget the case
Dr.
of
Patra, but
Justice
let me get in Mr. Arima Sundaram. Mr. Arima Sundaram, I've cited 2 cases, Justice Dinakaran as well as Justice C.K. Prasad's cases in the UPA era. Now, it comes to K.M. Joseph, Justice K.M. Joseph. Is it right for the Congress party to allege vendetta today when they've done the same precedents in the past?
Let me say something straight away. I don't believe 2 wrongs can ever make a right. The fact of the matter is, and we cannot run away from this fact, we have to face this fact, and we've got to ask ourselves what these facts mean. The memorandum of procedure has been sitting without being finalized for more than a year. Without that memorandum of procedure, the future of the collegium's functioning itself is in a lot of problems. The memorandum of procedure not being finalized by the government is something which is greatly affecting the appointment of judges. Number 2, the names of Justice K.M. Joseph and Indu Malhotra were both sent to the government 4 months ago. 4 months. The government sat on it for 4 months. Now the fact is the government has the power to return it for good reason, not agreeing. Collegium sends it again, it has to be approved. But there is what is called a pocket veto. All the government does is they know that if they send it back, Collegium sends it back again, they have to make the appointment. So what do? You sit on it for 1/3 of a year. You have vacancies in the Supreme Court, government sits for 1/3 of a year, does nothing. Then, thirdly, you send it back. And when you send it back, you give 2 frivolous reasons. 2 frivolous reasons, which are, number 1, that there are other judges more senior to him. There are hundreds of cases from Justice K.T. Thomas's state. What about Justice Krishnayar, one of our finest judges? He was by no means the most senior. Justice Kapadia, as a Chief Justice, was the junior most Chief Justice. There have been hundreds of cases. There's no such thing. Second, that too many judges from that state. Kerala has 1 judge, and many states have 3 judges. So these 2 reasons were not reasons. Let's understand what it means when the government sends it back to the collegium. What it means is the government says, here is something you as the collegium may not have noticed. I'm bringing to your notice something you may not have noticed. You mean the collegium did not know what his seniority was? The collegium did not know that there was already a judge from Kerala? This is a complete delaying tactic only to see that Justice K.M. Joseph is not elevated. And that's how I, as a common apolitical person, perceive it, and I can't help wondering whether this is because of the Uttarakhand judgment.
Well, we have some breaking news coming in. But I'll give 30 seconds to Dr. Sambit Patra to respond to that, because I need to go across to the big breaking political development that's coming up, because we have to cut this debate short. Dr. Patra, would you want to respond to Mr. Arima Sundaram?
You must say sorry to Mr. Arima Sundaram based on what he has said.
Of course, I would like to... Of course, what I would like to respond to what Aryaman Sundarji has said, but in a very humble way, just reminding that I, as a spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party, should remind you of the fact that the Chief Justice of India, while hearing a similar petition today, has rejected the petition on the grounds that government is well within its right as to what it is doing. As to what happens tomorrow is within the realm of conjectures and speculations. And I firmly believe that I would not go into... I think I'm talking to Aryamanji.
But you are talking. You respond to the question.
Ghanshyam Tiwari, let him respond because I really need to go across to the big breaking news.
Ghanshyam, you are not the Chief Justice of this debate.
Neither are you.
Aryaman Sundaramji has asked me a question. I'm answering him. Don't shout over here on all issues. Aryamanji, the Chief Justice of India, has said that the government is well within its right as to whatever it has done. And well, yes, if the second time recommendation is sent, what happens is something is within the realm of speculation, and I dare not touch the realm of speculation.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. We'll wait and watch what happens if the collegium once again sends the same recommendation of Justice K.M. Joseph to be elevated to the rank of a judge.